Welcome to Citizens Forum on Sapiencia's channel. My name is Jude GEOMAN AKG. Today on Citizens Forum, we're here to pay tribute to a hero of democracy. Every time we talk about June 12th, we talk about one hero of June 12th, and that is MKO Abiola. But then, when we talk about elections, and we talk about who the hero of an election is, we'll be talking about the umpire in that election. Yesterday in Ajali, Orumba North Local Government Area of Anambra State, we buried Professor Humphrey Nwosu. He died at a ripe age of 83. Born in October 2nd, 1941. He died, or we lost him, October 24th, 2024 in the USA. The conversation around the life and times of late Professor Humphrey Nwosu has been reduced, thankfully, to the Nigerian Senate to mere rumors and opinions, wild opinions that has nothing grounded in history. We'll talk about the life and times of the late Professor Humphrey Nwosu today on Citizens Forum. The essence of having this conversation is to encourage and also enlighten the younger generation because so much was said in the Senate, the argument about him being a coward, the argument about him not being worthy of national honors. Personally, I think that speaks a lot to his life and times because it will be very difficult to argue for a man who stood upright even in the face of intimidation to be honored in a setting where we have seen criminals, where we have seen misfits, where we have seen con men and con women, where we have seen election riggers, where we have seen people of questionable source of income being honored. And so the fact that honoring late Professor Humphrey Nwosu really became a controversial discussion at the floor of the Senate really shows how well he lived his life. To talk about June 12th is not to have the conversation of June 12th like we've always have it. Let's go back to what led to June 12th and the whole journey of June 12th. In 1983, the military took over power and so squashed our Second Republic. Nigerians who had gone to the polls and elected their leaders, we are left hanging as we see the people of Rivers State left hanging today. And so between 1983 and 1993, we had no presidential election. But then to talk about the Third Republic that would have been as though it rose and fell with the late MKO is not doing justice to our history at all. It was a transition process. It was a promise of the then military junta, led by Ibrahim Babangida, promised to hand over power to elected, it was a transition period, as a transition process. And so they promised to hand over power to elected representatives of the people at all levels, from local government to the House of Assembly, to governors, to the National Assembly, and then ultimately a president in 1990. Of course, we all know that did not happen in 1990. But then in 1987, IBB did something, and that was through a decree set up the National Electoral Commission, NEC. Today, that body has been baptized, or confirmed if you like, to INEC. And so it was in 1987 that NEC was set up. The late Professor Humphrey Nwosu was chairman of NEC from 1989 to 1993. But then let us look at this. NEC had conducted the elections. They had conducted in 1987 and 1991. They had conducted local government elections across the country. And so that was settled. Nigeria then had local government, their representatives are the local government people they elected. And when you look at the argument from analysts today and people who follow the Nigerian political scene, they will tell you that we had a better functioning, more democracy at our local government areas at that time the people who arose from that process than we even have now in 2025. That, of course, is arguable and should be argued, but that is what happened. They had those elections. And then they also had the governorship elections and the State House of Assembly elections in 1991 and 1992. So that was done. We had governors come on board. Like I said, it was a process. But then the 1993 elections, presidential elections, remains controversial till today. Let's also not forget that in 1992, we had presidential primaries where we saw people like the late Lieutenant General Shehu Yaradua emerge, where we saw people like Adamu Chiroma emerge. But then the head of state at that time, Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, cancelled those primaries. And not only did he cancel those primaries, by decree, just like there was a decree banning every second Republic politician from participating in that whole process, there was also a decree also stopping everybody who participated in the then presidential primaries from taking part in this election. And so we had 1993. June 12th was slated to be the day when we'll have our presidential election. By the timetable of NEC at that time, ably chaired by the late Professor Humphrey Nwosu, by June 17th, 18th, Nigerians would have known who their president was at that time. So let us begin to talk about the drama, because we've seen the Nigerian Senate, of all people, try to bastardize history, rewrite history for whatever reason, which during our conversation today, we'll try to make sense of why the Nigerian Senate will descend so low into the gutter to desecrate the memory and the good name of a man Nigerians should have no problem honoring. And so, June 11th, eve to that election, it's on record. We all know that Professor Humphrey Nwosu was threatened not to hold that election. Don't forget there was a court order served on late Professor Humphrey Nwosu by no other person, by Dan, the police boss at that time. This was a court order stopping them from conducting that election. We can't also forget that the highest military ruling body at that time, and we have to say this for cowards themselves who try to call late Professor Humphrey Nwosu a coward. The highest military ruling body at that time was the Nigerian Defense and Security Council. They summoned him and tried to make him stop that election. So June 12th was never to be if the late Professor Humphrey Nwosu was a coward. In spite of the court order, in spite of look, it's a military era, and so we will be right with our English if we call their summoning him to stop that election a threat. The military has no romantic way of telling you to stop something they really want you to stop. So June 12th happened because he stood his ground, and as a commission, they said they were going to challenge this in court. But then, since the law did not give the National Defense and Security Council any role in that election, they were not going to allow that body play a role they did not have. That was nowhere to be found in any of our books. So let us begin to talk about June 12th and compare what we have today, if there is any comparison at all. June 12th morning, election materials arrived at every ward promptly. Something we didn't have even in 2023 with all the improved logistics and improved communication. Let's not forget the communication level at that time. And so for any commission to have put up a logistics arrangement that ensured that even in Nigerian difficult terrains, which was more difficult, let's face it, we had more difficult terrains in 1993 than we have today, than we had in 1999, than we had in 2023. The elections held, The elections were peaceful. June 13th and June 14th, election results were coming in. I go down to their logistics preparation once again. At least I was alive. It doesn't matter how little I was. I still remember that on radio, Nigerians who supported the MK, who supported the SDP, were already jubilating. Why were they jubilating? Because as those election results were coming in, they were being announced. I still remember my parents at home listening to the election results on radio in 1993. I still remember that. It's still clear. I still remember in our neighborhood, and so many of us, no matter how little we were, we will still remember that. The celebrations we are going in. And so Nigerians could collect the results even before it was announced. Now, to talk about what happened in that election is to remind ourselves that in 1993, June 13th, June 14th, 1993, only one state was remaining. Not only had the result of every other state come in, but Nigerians knew in record time, as those results were coming in, what these election results were. And what state was that? It was Taraba. The then REC, that's the Resident Electoral Commissioner, was from Delta State. I think Professor Sada or something like that. He was already on the way to NEC headquarters with the election results. And so for all intents and purposes, 1993 happened. For all intents and purposes, to set the record straight. And these records are not fabricated records. They are out there documented. They happened live. They have been documented. Everybody knows about them. Well, everybody, we'll come to that shortly. But then, once again, the military summoned, and that is, the exact body I keep mentioning is the Nigeria Defense and Security Council. They summoned Humphrey Nwosu to Abuja at that time, and not only ordered him to stop the announcement, and don't forget, there was a court order once again. That court order was served to Professor Humphrey Nwosu to stop announcing election results. Like I said, at the time that court order will come, at the time he was summoned to Abuja by the military, it was just Taraba State remaining. And REC from Delta State, who was in charge of Taraba State, was already on his way with the results. The National Electoral Commission, headed by late Professor Humphrey Nwosu, was ready to announce the final results. Like he reminded the military, they had no way. When they now summoned him to Abuja to stop, the announcement, it was a court order. It was also the military putting their weight. We need to talk about the members of the National Defense and Security Council. Headed by who? The man who wrote a book recently and had senators, past leaders, everybody giving him praise and contributions. The then head of state, who is still alive today, General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, he was heading that military council. Of course, some prominent members of that military council were, of course, the late General Sani Abacha. Yes, Babangida tries to rewrite history today and put all the blame on the doorstep of General Sani Abacha. I was not in those rooms. I don't know. But then he was the head of state. He appointed General Sani Abacha. But that is another conversation. We are definitely going to have that conversation, but not today. But we have seen members of that council go ahead to hold prominent roles in our democracy. David Mark, for instance, who was Minister of Communication at that time, and was the one summoning, because he was Minister of Communication. He was the one. So all of these summons were under his table. I'm not saying he's the one that took the decision, but he was there. He has become Senate President in Nigeria. Nyako was a member of that committee. Ali Gassou was a member, General Ali Gassou was a member of that committee. all of these people have gone ahead to play prominent roles in our democracy. And so the question as to the role he played versus the role this individual played is not in doubt. It is very clear. Because at every turn, it was the late Professor Humphrey Nwosu who stood up to these guys and told them this would not happen. To the extent that the late General Sani Abacha threatened him. And when I not really threatened him, just like we heard Senator using same language and same English that we heard Senator Nwebonyi use on Ezekwesili. I'm not going into their conflict, but I'm just saying those same words. Who are you? Who are you? You know, who are you to come here to talk to us? Reminding the late Professor Humphrey Nwosu that he wasn't a member of the National Defense and Security Council. Questioning him why he thought he could go ahead and announce an election result without first clearing with them, which publicly people who were in that room have spoken, have also written. That at that point when Sani Abacha asked the late Professor Humphrey Nwosu that question, he did reply him that they have no such role, that it was NEC who were mandated by, by law to conduct this election, collate this election, announce the result from the ward to the local government, to the state, and then ultimately to, announce the winner of that election. At every turn, the late Professor Humphrey Nwosu stood his ground with the military. And when we talk about the military, anyone who knows the military, how the military operated in that area, and the individuals who played prominent role, these were young military officers, really understood what the late Professor Humphrey was up against. He, at every turn, it is well documented, reminded them and pleaded with them that they had two options, that the military at that time had two options to take. One of the options he said they had to take, and he told them clearly that from all of their records, because Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida is today saying that, well, he didn't really know at that time who won the election. And it is with results, later events and pondering on this. That's a lie. That's one of the white lies in that book. One of the crafty things the general did was not to allow for Humphrey Nwosu to have, some kind of mention in his book that will highlight the role he played. And he did that intentionally, because there is no way you are going to claim that you were not sure at the time of annulling that election who won that election if you highlighted the role Humphrey Nwosu played. And so he told them they had two options. That they had the option of calling Tofa and Abiola, who won that election, and negotiating with them. They wouldn't be part, him and NEC wouldn't be part of that conversation. They should talk with these people and allow them stay off. The second option, he said, was to allow them to announce the winner of that election, and then whoever, as we said today, whoever is dissatisfied will step to the courts. That was still met with not only refusal, but threats also. Why? Because the military cadre at that time had made up their mind on what they wanted to do. Today, IBB tries to tell us that it was Abacha, but that's another conversation. And so it is quite clear, it was quite clear at that time that he told all of them who won that election. In fact, so free, fair, and credible was that election that the NRC had called the SDP and Abiola at that time to congratulate them on election victory, because it was a clean sweep. Furthermore, to also show how bent the late Professor Humphrey Nwosu was to ensure that that was announced, he went to court. The National Electoral Commission, headed by late Professor Humphrey Nwosu, went to the appeal court in Kaduna. They went to the appeal court and submitted every election result, and that included that from Taraba, which had arrived to their table at that time. And so even in the military era, even though he faced threat from the military, He did not just give up. He fought in every way he knew how to, including going to court and submitting all of the election results to show clearly that we have conducted this election and this is the winner. Why did he do that? Because the military who set up that commission refused for them to announce the result. Quite simple. Now, at the point where he went to court, the court sitting in Abuja at that time, Professor, what's his name? Forgotten his name now, but something Achike. The judge at that time wanted accelerated hearing. They filed all of this on June 20th, 1993, and the court was to release, was to give its ruling on June 25th. And that tells you how functional our courts were then. Presidential election, this disputed, even under the military, and within 5 days, the court was to conclude its hearing and had ordered the Federal High Court in Abuja to submit every election material in its custody to it, so they would have accelerated hearing. But then it wasn't to be, because June 23rd, 1993, Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida disbanded that, dissolved that committee, that NEC, and so they had no powers whatsoever to announce or do whatever. And so that is the tragedy that happened in 1993. Most of the players who argued the other way at the floor of the Senate are old enough to know all of this. All of the players who argued against honoring late Professor Humphrey Nwosu have all of them, at one time or the other, consistently called that election the freest, the fairest election Nigeria ever held. At every turn, everybody, including the sitting president, have all attested that that election was the freest and the fairest election ever in the history of the country. And so one is really at a loss as to why, with one side of our mouth, we agree that this was the best election ever conducted. But then just when it is time to honor a man, and let's not forget, I don't know if I said it at the beginning of this program, Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, as military head of state, had promised Humphrey Nwosu, and indeed his officers, that if they conduct, and that was a promise, a state promise, take that as a state promise, not a man-to-man promise, that if they conducted an election that was considered free, that was fair, that was peaceful, and was acceptable to both local and international observers, they would be given national honors. This is 2025. The man who won that election has been announced president posthumously. So why did we have so much problem honoring him while he was alive and then talk down on his memory? I read a stinker written in Gamji, even though I respect the Gamji platform, and I confess I also go to Gamji platform. I've been enlightened by that platform, you know, intelligent writers, well researched and all. But I was ashamed that Gamji allowed on this platform for an article to be hosted. And that article was titled something like one coward called Professor Humphrey Nwosu. And when you listen to the senators who spoke, including Senator Adams Oshiomhole, who knows far better, at least who knows better, then it really begs the question where we really are with our politics and what is behind all of that. I see it, I was really ashamed that conversation was reduced to the caucus of the Southeast senators stomping out and trying to give all of this an ethnic coloration. But then in some other conversation, we're also going to talk about how the Southeast has also failed this one. And when I say the Southeast has also failed this one, I'm talking about the media in the Southeast. I'm talking about the political class in the media in the Southeast. I'm talking about the intelligentsia. If we have them in the Southeast, the intelligentsia, the scholars, the researchers, and historians, and all of that. What have we been doing? The Southwest, even when, as a country, even under the military, when it was clear that the Nigerian state refused to accept the role of and the sacrifice and the significance of the late Chief MKO Abiola, the Southwest celebrated their own. June 12th was a public holiday in the Southwest. They did not wait for the Nigerian state to honor their own. They did not wait for the Nigerian state to inculcate that into their curriculum. They did not wait for the honors. The honors came decades later. And so as much as people of the Southeast, I mean, you go online and you feel that pulse. As much as the people of the Southeast will try to say this and that, we shouldn't make this a Southeast thing. If we are going to make this a Southeast thing, then we must hold ourselves accountable too. But then to see the Senate do what they did, one just has to set the record straight. Citizens Forum on Sapiencia's channel, and today it's all about tribute to the late Professor Humphrey Nwosu. Buried yesterday, a national hero, regardless of who agrees or disputes it. He is, and he will remain, a hero of democracy. And we have had no election. We've not had an election since the inception of Nigeria that met the standard of the election he conducted in 1993. Indeed, since he took over all the elections he held, option A4 remains, I'll say that in closing, option A4 remains the best balloting system we've ever had. All right, 081-574, sorry, 081-574-66270, 081-574-66270, and 080-631-30020. I'll take that once again, maybe slower, right? 080, and we all know 080, 631-300, and that's 320. All right, and 081-574-66270. Let's talk today. Hello.
Good morning, JUDE.
Yes, welcome to Citizens Forum.
Thank you very much for speaking with the rest of my location.
All right, go ahead.
I really just have to say the serious it is unfair.
Amen to that.
Thank you very much. Whether anybody wants to accept it or not, I was really bored. I was really bored when that incident happened.
All right.
But I'm an intelligent man that I am. What I ask myself is, we have been talking about June 12th. What happened in June 12th? We keep mentioning the name of Abiola. If Humphrey did not conduct the election and announce the winner, we get the enemy what we call Abiola, maybe remembering Abiola as a winner of that election. It is because there was a good conduct of an election that produced somebody who they said that he would, and somebody declare the winner of that particular person. I don't want to imagine, maybe to start thinking about the way he fight, or maybe trying to cut himself. But what I just want to know is that he conducted that election that brought about this particular one.
All right.
So, for me, this thing that we are, the way we are doing politics in Nigeria, honestly, it is not good to us at all. It's sort of us to further ahead, to make a good progress in this country. But we are busy playing tribal politics. It is unfair. But we don't want to all the Southeastern governors. If the federal want to do it, they should start here. Let any school hospital by the name of Okay, that is what I want to say. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you for calling into the program. Yes, the name I was trying to get is late Oke Achike. He was the judge at the Kaduna, the Court of Appeal, Kaduna State, who was to deliver judgment on this before the military did what they did. Hello.
Hello.
Yes. Welcome, sir.
Yes, I'm Raymond. I'm calling from Ewu.
You are sorry, the name?
I'm Raymond. I'm calling from Ewu.
All right. You're welcome, Mr. Raymond.
Yes, Ewu is in Delta State.
All right.
Well, the topic this morning is very important and emotional too.
All right.
But this is just a reflection of the kind of leaders we have presently. Leaders that can tell your children, the younger ones, white lies, people looking at your faces. Yes, of course. I witnessed it too. No, small, but I knew what happened because the story is right. He said it was everywhere.
Yeah.
And nothing was hidden. That election has been adjudged free and freest. It was credible. And who made it possible? Professor Humphrey.
Yeah.
If we can be celebrating Adela today posthumously, then that time Humphrey was still alive. Nobody even mentioned his name, even our leaders, even from the East. So the story is just pathetic and it shows the kind of leaders we have presently. Before everyone, you are telling the younger ones lies. Something, then you are now giving history and aggression. That is what it means. If, like you said, the country failed the Southeasterners, why can't we stand for ourselves?
Yeah.
Look at the scenario you painted about Adela. They started even before federal government announced whatever. Now, why can't we celebrate such a man? And what he passed on, yet nobody's talking of him. And imagine, whole Senate, people have the guts to stand that the bill down. Even a family that was even talking. I think shortly he was headed Labour Congress, and he knew his history. He also was not a young person as such. So he must have experienced it for firsthand. Why are they doing this? Turning things that are not ideal sectional to the sectional, because that is where it looks. Our people must learn not to shut up history. History must be told the way it is. Either bitter or whatever. Let it stay the way it is. So our children will learn tomorrow. Let's not confuse this history about this country. And that is why we're having multiple challenges. Leaders tell people white lies because of reasons that belong to them. How will you raise the name of such a man in the history of this country? And you want people to be happy? We all shout about past American leaders and they are injured. But people made it possible.
Yeah.
If that man, if Professor Humphrey was to be an American, come on, history will never, in fact, he will have been one of more than any non-president. And we're saying all this in here. It's a sad commentary. Please stop telling lies that are not necessary. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. That's a powerful ending. Stop telling lies that are not necessary. The director of legal services of NEC at that time, Bello Buhari, was the one who, on behalf of NEC, filed, the papers in court. So this is public knowledge. Hello.
Hello. Good morning, JUDE.
Yeah. Good morning, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Welcome to the program.
That's Chief Obiako from Umero.
All right. Welcome.
Yeah. Let me act on the issue topic this morning.
Right.
If I will say, Professor Okuwosu is the best INEC chairman we have ever had in this country. I was an adult.
All right.
I started working during the time of MPN.
Okay.
So the election of 1993, headed by Professor Humphrey is the best. Why I said so? The TV was run by then. All the voting material arrived at all polling units at the right time, nationwide. because I follow up. Then, accreditation started at the right time. Voting started at the right time. There's no history of ballot snatching.
Yeah.
No violence, no tear gas.
Yeah.
Nationwide.
True.
I would say that because I voted. So Nigeria ought to give that man honor for the wonderful performance, the job that was entrusted to him to perform. He performed very well, excellently. If we had had such professor or INEC chairman like Professor Onfrimosu, Nigeria wouldn't have been in this condition of that ourselves today. Because the whole mess was from INEC. So that is what I want to contribute. He's the best INEC chairman I've ever had in this country. I repeat again, the accreditation started at the right time. The voting material arrived in all 3 units at the right time. Voting started at the right time. No violence, no violence, such a nationwide.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chairman.
All right, thank you so much. Like I said, I wasn't told enough to vote. But I still remember the happiness and everything. I still remember my parents going to vote and come back in record time, to stay back and wait for the results. Radio was buzzing at that time and there was jubilation. We still recall all of those things. Hello.
Good morning. Good morning.
Yeah.
JUDE.
Welcome, sir.
Yeah. My name is GEOMAN. I come from Adrozi.
All right. Welcome to the program,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah, this is my first time at coming here. There's something I want to. There's some of the analysis you made there, which I love.
Okay.
You said that in recent time that the people began first celebrate it without federal government recognizing him
That's true.
as the president. So this is what I saw there is unification of the Southwest. But in Southeast, everybody abandoned country rules. Forget about what the people are saying today. They abandoned him because all these things were saying. I remember that there's what we call ABM, Association for Better Nigeria, which at Nigeria was the one that carried it to the courts to stop the foreign. So all these things were from us. And because we are not unity, this has become a very big problem we have. When they have finished honored Adura, then I'll better advice. Not that it is too late, but we have to learn how to start things from the beginning. So that it will help us. Even if the federal government or others will not recognize them, let us recognize ourselves first, like others are doing. Because I love how you analyze it. That is why I call to contribute more. So this has been a problem we have here. We don't have a unification. We don't agree together. This is the very problem we have. And this is what I want to contribute. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. And nice one. You reminded us of that piece of history of Arthur Nzeribe and his, let me say, and his famous role. Let me leave it at that. All right. Hello.
Good morning.
Yeah. Welcome, sir.
Yeah, this is good morning. Coming from America.
Okay. Welcome to the
My
program.
brother is so very, very bad. First of all, we go to the owner of the other doing that is Igbo Carnival. First of all, we reject our own first before. First of all, the politicians, the kind of politicians we have in fact is they are, if I use this word, and I got it wrong, but I got it right. So, the kind of politicians we have in this country, they are killing their brothers and sisters before others are killing their brothers and sisters. And the kind of politicians we have in this country, they are vampires. They are, oh God, I am weeping here. God bless you. I am weeping here. We don't have money from the okay.
All right. Thank you so much. But we definitely cannot paint everybody with the same brush. We definitely cannot do that. We've seen members of our political class who are standing up and speaking up for the region. For instance, I was also impressed when I saw the Southeast Caucus even take that as important. And the fact that they staged that walkout, and I'm speaking personally now, the fact that the Southeast Caucus staged that walkout I was impressed. That's what we expect from them in other very valid matters that concern the Southeast. We'll come to all of those. Hello.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, welcome, sir.
Yeah. I'm on Radio Sapiencia.
Yes, you are.
Very good. I had the discussion going on concerning late Humphrey Nwosu.
Yes.
There's one thing I want us to know.
All right.
If you go carefully through the history of Nigeria, you will agree with me that we have two major problems. Number one, tribal. If you want to do anything, hinge it on tribal. You will get your results.
Yeah.
The other one is religion. Use any of these two factors, or the two of them, you will achieve your results. Now, from what you have said, if you take a critical analysis, I am drawing from the detail you have just given, you will agree with me. Even if won Abiola in that election, I use the word, even if Tofa won, Tofa will not be sworn in as the president. Let me tell you certain things.
But that is true.
When it comes to authority, yes, when it comes to authority, there are certain things those that the seat of power know that you don't know. And that many a times influences their decision. That is why you will hear. I want to give an example from the judiciary angle. The judge will tell you, with evidence before me, even if the judge really knew that A or B did this thing, but he will say, with evidence before me, this is what is available. This is what I'm giving out as my judgment. Now, I want to sum up so that other people can come up. If you watch it critically, I will give you 5 names. Number 1, Muhammad Buhari. Number 2, General Babatunde Idiago. Muhammad Bassa. Sani Abacha. And finally, the president that gave his book, that launched his book, IPP. Yes. These 5 people, these 5 military generals, they have lined up themselves that they will rule Nigeria. Now, it was the turn, if you follow the history very well, it was the turn of Abacha to take over from Babangida. Now you are telling him that he will not become head of state, like bringing in a democratically elected government. Abacha will not accept it. And that was why that election was annulled. After the annulment, Abacha was made, I think, a Secretary of Defense to His Excellency Shonekon. How many months was Shonekon there? Abacha now came in. And that means that generational character issue has been achieved. Therefore, those in authority, they are things they know that me and you don't know, that influences their judgment. If not, why did His Excellency, the IPP, not declare the result the way it is? How can you tell me, as a classroom teacher, that 2 plus 2 in this 10 is not fair? Once you say that it is 2 plus 2 in base 10, the answer will be 4. It's not debatable. But simply because I have a hidden agenda, I will not put a necessary argument that it is not. Until we come back to realize that the principal tripod we are standing on, that is to say, allow me to use that language, please. Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba. We have not seen ourselves as a nation. That is why you will see the American government as an example. When any of their citizens is being held outside, they will use all their available arsenals. All their available arsenals to go and rescue that one single individual. Even if they go with their presidential jet, that is they don't call it the Air Force One or whatever. That will tell you how much they value themselves. But in Nigeria, we have not matured. We have not grown up to that level until we begin to see the state, that is the Nigerian, as bigger and better than individual. That is when we will say, yes, we have arrived. We can see what is happening recently. Rivers.
All right, let's not deviate into rivers, because if we deviate into rivers,
no, I'm sorry, sir. I'm very sorry, sir.
All right.
I'm very sorry, sir.
All right, sir.
So you can see my submission. So until we start to place the state,
all right,
that is in Nigeria above our individual interest. You, to the best of your knowledge, this was part of what you read during your analysis.
Yeah.
Why did His Excellency IPB not say anything concerning Humphrey Nwosu, the man who spearheaded everything, which he knew as at that time that was military? Humphrey Nwosu by now will have been forgotten.
Yeah.
But because they want that history to come, then I'll summarize. My solution is this. It is question of time.
Yeah.
The conscience, according to Madam Fodio, the conscience is an open wound. Only the truth can heal it. It will not be now, 10, 15, 20 years, that you will see how greatly history and those then in authority and power will honor His Excellency, Professor Humphrey Nwosu, who was late to Mother Earth.
I completely agree with you.
Thank you very much.
All right.
History will do it.
All right.
After, they did it for Abiola. It was not for Abiola. Because one thing is very clear in this world. Truth remains the truth. It doesn't matter how much you distort it. It doesn't matter how much you distort the truth. The woman will tell you that.
All right, sir. Maybe we'll gently ease you off, but then thank you so much. I'm very sorry I was the one who ended this call, but thank you so much, and your contribution was valuable. You raised the point we were not going to discuss today, and that is the individuals you lined up. Where then do we place the late Lieutenant General Shehu Yaradua? And even though Babangida will always refer to Abacha as Khalifa, is it not also true that he never wanted Abacha to succeed him? But then that's another conversation, and I'll be very pleased we have that conversation. Maybe on bits and pieces. Let me not promise what day, but maybe we have that conversation on bits and pieces, because I'm a Kaduna boy and I'm very interested in that conversation. Hello.
Good morning.
Yeah, welcome, sir.
Thank you. My name is Kintoto Foundations. I'm calling you from Otoko Akoso right now.
All right, my producer has warned me you only have 2 minutes, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you. Yes. What you really analyzed this morning, in fact, it woke my spirit, because all these things that they told them, they worked out and told them that they are not in the tyrant area again in this political system. This is military rule. The government of this period is just pure military rule. Some call them military in their border. They are using us as if to say this is a party business where they load vehicle, where task lives. So the Senate seat in this period is full of wonderful people. When we listen to what Obasanjo said sometime, he said that the satanic government can never last. We just think that it looks like this is a satanic government, but in reality is going on there. Look at them causing sexual harassment in the rape chambers. All of them know that what they are doing. Look at them going on taking hard jumps and wine, building hotels for themselves, the kind of life they live. Does it show people that have that manners of helping others? In fact, I know that this period, God is going to visit Nigeria and do something that we didn't even expect. Thank you very much. Let that contribute.
All right, thank you so much. And on that very positive note, we come to the end of this program. Today, we pay tribute to the life and times of the great hero of democracy in Nigeria. Nobody can take that away from him. Even those who fight for him not to be immortalized, they actually know, they know the truth, and they know you can't put a blemish in his life, in his career. No one can. And history, I agree with the caller who said, history will surely vindicate him. My name is Jude GEOMAN Ekeji, and I'm so proud that we paid tribute to him today. Same time, same station, this program returns. Do have a beautiful weekend.